Hello everyone, it is I, the Fable of Fables. That's right, I'm recording a lot of Fallout related content right now. So yeah, if you guys like this kind of content, do like, comment, subscribe, help me out, I'm doing a donathon. So today we're going to be reacting to the every Fallout serial killer explained. It's kind of crazy the fact that the Fallout series has serial killers, but then again, it's made sense. It's a living world, and things kind of get very crazy in those kind of things. So yeah, let's go.
The pint-sized slasher. The pint-sized slasher began as an urban
Oh, sorry, I'm dying. I'm dying. Remember me, guys.
legend that parents in the Washington, D.C. area told to frighten misbehaving children, a boogeyman who would emerge from a dog kennel
Oh,
at dusk
yeah,
to
that was
chase kids
horrible.
with a toy knife. The legend captured the public imagination so completely that it became the second best-selling Halloween costume in pre-war America, only outsold by the heroic Captain Cosmos. But in 2052, this tale took a horrifying turn into reality with the infamous Linden Street slayings, which became a top story. Wearing a sinister clown mask, black and white striped shirt, and wielding an oversized chef's or butcher's knife. The only known survivor, a boy named Christopher Atkinson, witnessed the brutal murder of his brother Sean, and his eyewitness account, quoted by Police Chief Joseph Field, confirmed the killer was a male child, cementing the pint-sized aspect. The original slasher's identity was never discovered, and his fate was presumably sealed by nuclear annihilation. But his legend endured in ways that prove how deeply this horror had embedded itself in American culture. In Fallout 3, players can actually embody the killer within the Tranquility Lane virtual reality simulation in Vault 112, where the sadistic Dr. Stanislaus Braun tasks the lone wanderer with terrorizing and murdering simulated residents while disguised as the slasher.
Dude, I'm not gonna lie. Fallout 3 was interesting, but also that questline was really, really something.
This interactive sequence forces players to participate in the violent dismantling of the pre-war facade, turning a happy, peaceful neighborhood into a slaughterhouse. Physical evidence of the slasher's activities, or those of a copycat, appears in Point Lookout, where his iconic mask is discovered in a gruesome, blood-soaked motel room, suggesting his murderous legacy continued far from DC. The legend resurfaces again in Fallout 4 through the Creation Club quest.
Okay, so here's the thing. We don't really talk so much about the Creation Club because the Creation Club is just an excuse to make a lot of money. Like, a lot of stupid amount of money, and a lot of the times it wasn't worth it. Some of it was kind of useful, but a lot of the other stuff wasn't useful, so take it with a grain of salt, really.
A pint-sized problem, introducing a post-war ghoul who, broken by the loss of his family, has become obsessed with the slasher myth and taken up the mantle himself. A note found on his body reveals his motivation. "No more will things be taken from me, I will do the taking now." But while the pint-sized slasher was a corruption of childhood innocence, the next killer turned art itself into an instrument of philosophical terror.
Are you talking about Pikmin?
The Fens Phantom. Operating in pre-war
Never
Boston,
mind.
the Fens Phantom was a killer with a deeply philosophical bent who established his lair and gallery in the Fens Street sewer because he felt it was insulated from what he perceived as the hypocrisy of the world above. Through a series of 4 holotapes addressed directly to the detective hunting him, he reveals his disturbing motivations and worldview. He describes life on the surface as exhausting, a place where one must smile at people who don't care about you one way or another, and explains that it was only in the sewer, surrounded by his macabre creations, that he felt he could truly live. Phantom is believed to have murdered at least 24 people, and he didn't simply dispose of the bodies. He arranged their skeletal remains into grotesque, artistic tableaus throughout the sewer system. Each of these displays is marked with chalk X's on nearby walls, which likely denote the number of victims used in each specific art piece. This systematic documentation shows a methodical mind that viewed murder not as random violence but as creative expression requiring careful cataloging and presentation. Over time, the Phantom developed a deep, almost romantic obsession with the unnamed detective on his trail, viewing him as a kindred spirit and the only person capable of truly understanding his work. He eventually contacted the detective directly, luring him into the sewer for what he clearly intended as a final
Oh, excuse me. This one I remember this.
intimate confrontation. The fourth and final holotape implies the Phantom was victorious in this encounter, stating with obvious satisfaction, "It doesn't matter anymore. Now you're here with me and we have all the time in the world to get to know each other." The ultimate fate of both the killer and his pursuer has become a subject of intense fan debate and speculation. One theory suggests a murder-suicide. A more popular theory posits that the Phantom actually survived the Great War in his sewer, with the ambient radiation slowly transforming him into the powerful glowing one that players players must fight at the end of the location.
It's possible, but also extremely horrifying, but possible.
A particularly intriguing extension of this lore connects the unnamed detective to Nick Valentine, whose memories were scanned by the Institute before he descended into the sewer for his final encounter with the Phantom. The Fenn's Phantom serves as a clear thematic precursor to the post-war killer Pickman, as both arrange their victims into artistic displays. If you thought artistic murder was disturbing, the next killer used corporate branding as his signature in ways that proved prophetic. The Nuka Killer. This pre-war serial killer operated in the Boston area and is known only through fragmented police terminal entries discovered by players 200 years
Alright, not gonna lie, that's AI art. I'm kind of annoyed, but okay, what can you do?
later, making the investigation a cold case spanning centuries of nuclear winter. The investigation was a multi-jurisdictional effort involving Sheriff Taylor of the Nahant Sheriff's Department and Federal Officer A, showing how seriously law enforcement took this particular threat. Calling card earned him his distinctive name. He placed 2 Nuka-Cola bottle caps into the eye sockets of his victims after what appears to have been drowning them. All 3 of his known victims, a man named Gonzalez, another named Yavitz, were found in water-damaged clothing near large bodies of water. Disparate evidence is scattered across terminals at the Nahant Sheriff's Department, the East Boston Police Station, and the Coast Guard Pier, requiring players to piece together the full picture from multiple locations. Nuka-Cola was the most dominant brand in pre-war America. The killer co-opted this ubiquitous symbol of refreshment and turned it into a token of death, placing the caps where eyes should be as if to suggest his victims had been blinded by corporate propaganda. Like the other pre-war killers, the Nuka Killer's identity and ultimate fate were lost in the atomic fire of the Great War, existing only as a ghost in the machine, but his legacy lives on every time a Wastelander trades bottle caps for supplies, unknowingly participating in an economy founded on the same symbol a serial killer once used to mark death. While these pre-war killers revealed the rot beneath America's facade, the post-war world didn't create entirely new forms of evil. It just gave existing psychopathy new targets and justifications. Pickman, found in Boston's North End.
There it is, Pickman. He is a very... I think he's supposed to be a reference to an H.P. Lovecraft story.
This well-spoken and unnervingly polite man operates out of what he calls his gallery, and his entire character serves as a direct homage to H.P. Lovecraft's 1927 short story, Pickman's Model, which tells of a Boston artist whose horrifyingly realistic paintings of monsters are revealed to be drawn from life. Fallout 4's Pickman brings this concept into the post-apocalypse, with the Wasteland's raiders serving as his monstrous muses in ways that create profound moral ambiguity. He lures them into the tunnels beneath his gallery, where he tortures and kills them through methods that are clearly both prolonged and creative. He then uses their blood as paint and their dismembered bodies as components for grotesque sculptures that fill his gallery, creating art that is simultaneously
When I played Fallout 4, I actually never encountered him, which I think is kind of funny, but...
horrifying and, given his choice of subjects, arguably serving a public service. To acquire new materials for his work, Pickman leaves calling cards on raider corpses he kills in the wild, notes taunting their comrades to come find him if
I'm gonna be completely honest, I know he's a serial killer in every sense of the word, but the fact is he mostly goes after raiders. So it's one of those things where it's a serial killer who kills other killers, you know what I mean? So... I don't think he's that much of a bad guy, but I'm pretty sure at some point he will in fact just go after the rest of the people. So
want revenge, each marked
Better
with a heart
than
drawn
me, I
in the
guess.
victim's blood. This shows he's not content to wait passively for subjects, but actively hunts raiders throughout the Commonwealth, making him perhaps the most effective anti-raider force in the region. Players can discover the gallery after finding one of these cards during their travels, or can be directed to investigate by Hancock, the ghoul mayor of Goodneighbor, who has heard disturbing rumors. Upon arrival, players find the gallery under siege by a raider gang led by a particularly angry raider named Slab, who is seeking bloody revenge for his fallen men. Players must fight through these raiders to reach Pickman, who they find cornered in the tunnels below his gallery. Here, the game presents one of its most morally complex choices: kill Pickman as a dangerous psychopath, or save him from the raiders seeking his death. If players choose to save him, Pickman is genuinely grateful, and provides them with a key to his personal safe, which contains the unique combat knife, Pickman's Blade, a weapon that seems to carry some of his artistic obsession with it. This creates a disquieting parallel with the player character, who almost certainly has a much higher raider body count than Pickman does. The encounter forces a moment of uncomfortable introspection. Pickman serves as a dark mirror, reflecting what the player character could become if they allowed the violence of the wasteland to consume their humanity entirely. But if you thought targeting raiders made killing morally ambiguous, the next killer chose victims completely at random for pure entertainment. Dixie, this high-ranking lieutenant in the Disciples, represents not just individual psychopathy.
I have no idea who the hell or Fricky McPattywackle this is.
but the absolute endpoint of an entire raider philosophy taken to its logical extreme. The disciples are the most vicious and sadistic of the three raider gangs controlling the Nuka World
Oh,
theme
okay.
park, and
Never
unlike
mind,
the
that explains
profit-driven
it.
operators or the alpha mentality pack, the disciples kill simply for the pleasure of it, embracing nihilistic violence as a lifestyle and art form. Terminal entries from other gang leaders reveal that
Is it nihilistic or is it sadistic? Because I think you're looking. I don't know. Anyway.
the disciples' leader, Nisha, promoted Dixie not out of merit or respect, but out of genuine fear. Nisha hoped that giving Dixie a position of authority and responsibility would keep her extreme psychopathy somewhat in check, but this strategy appears to have backfired spectacularly. Dixie's promotion only gave her more resources and opportunities to indulge her murderous compulsions on a larger scale. Dixie's primary weapon isn't her gun or knife, but deception wrapped in southern charm. She carefully affects the persona of a polite southern belle, using a sweet, honeyed accent and charming manners to lure unsuspecting victims into a false sense of security. This facade is so convincing that victims often remain hopeful even as she leads them to their deaths, believing until the very end that they might survive the encounter through negotiation or appeal to her better nature. Her personal quarters in Fizztop Mountain serve as a testament to her true nature and provide crucial insight into her psychology. The rooms are decorated with mutilated corpses arranged in artistic displays, but more disturbing is her collection of souvenir holotapes. These audio recordings capture the exact moments of her kills, specifically focused
So basically, trophies is what you're telling me. Is that she collects trophies? God damn.
on the psychological transition when she drops her charming mask and reveals her true intentions to victims. The tapes preserve their hope, turning to confusion, then terror, then desperate pleading, and finally silence. These souvenir recordings are crucial to understanding Dixie's psychology because they reveal she derives pleasure not just from the physical act of killing, but from the emotional torture and the complete shattering of her victims' hope. She feeds on the moment of realization when people understand they've been completely deceived and that their death is inevitable.
So
The fact
she's a
that she
sadistic
keeps and
killer.
presumably replays these recordings suggests she relives these moments repeatedly, extracting ongoing satisfaction from each victim's despair. Players can encounter Dixie in several ways throughout the Nuka World questline. She may appear during random encounters in the wasteland, casually asking players to help her decide which of her bound captives to kill first, treating murder as a casual entertainment choice like selecting a movie. Her tone during these encounters is consistently cheerful and conversational, as if discussing the weather rather than premeditated murder. Her ultimate fate depends entirely on player choices during the Nuka World storyline. She can remain a valuable ally if players choose to side with the disciples and embrace their philosophy of violence for its own sake. Alternatively, she can be killed if players eventually turn against the raider gangs, or decide her methods are too extreme, even for their criminal enterprise. If players do choose to kill her, her final word is reportedly a soft, contented "finally," suggesting that death represents not defeat, but simply another new sensation for her to experience. This reaction implies she views her own death not as tragedy, but as the natural conclusion to a life dedicated to exploring
Interesting. That's
different forms of violence and suffering, including her own. Dixie represents what humanity can become when all moral and societal constraints have been absent for multiple generations, and cruelty is embraced not as a tool for survival, but as a fulfilling lifestyle choice. She's not a product of desperation or addiction like many raiders, but someone who has made evil into an art form and a source of personal fulfillment. While Dixie's madness was clearly a product of post-war chaos, the next killer's story remains shrouded in Appalachian mystery. The Sickleman. This enigmatic figure represents something unique in Fallout's approach to serial killer lore, a mystery that exists primarily through environmental storytelling and community investigation rather than direct narrative exposition. The Sickleman's story is told through a collaborative effort between game developers and players, creating an ongoing investigation that spans years of real-time speculation and theory building. Primary evidence of his existence is an unmarked cabin located near Vault 76 in Appalachia. Underneath the porch, players can discover a hidden
I think Common would like this one because he absolutely loves 76. I don't know why, I really don't, but you do you.
crawl space that contains graffiti scrawled on the wall reading "Sickleman was here," accompanied by 4 headless skeletons and a rusted sickle. The scene is clearly meant to be discovered, arranged like a calling card or signature left by someone who wants their work to be found and recognized. His modus operandi appears to be decapitation using the sickle, and he leaves his victims' heads behind while taking the bodies for unknown purposes. This selective trophy taking suggests a specific psychological compulsion or ritual significance that goes beyond simple murder. The fact that he leaves the heads while taking the bodies implies the heads serve as his signature or message, while the bodies may serve some other purpose in his ritual or disposal method. The Sickleman's identity has become one of Appalachia's most hotly debated mysteries among players and lore enthusiasts. Two prominent theories have emerged, both connecting him to the mysterious Mothman cult, a connection supported by several pieces of environmental evidence. His lair overlooks Landview Lighthouse, which serves as a key ritual site for Mothman cultists, and the headless skulls he leaves behind bear similarities to the skull totems used in cultist ceremonies. The first theory identifies the Sickleman as Wesley Addington, a wealthy pre-war big game hunter whose story is told through holotapes found at his hunting lodge. In these recordings, Addington expresses growing boredom with hunting animals and a disturbing desire to begin hunting people instead, viewing human prey as the ultimate challenge for his hunting skills. Proponents of this theory argue that his distinct aristocratic accent matches that of a high-ranking Mothman cult leader heard on other holotapes throughout Appalachia. The second, more elaborate theory suggests the Sickleman is actually Wise Charles, a pre-war cultist who somehow survived the nuclear apocalypse and continues his murderous activities in the post-war world. This theory is supported by the proximity of his lair to other confirmed cult sites, and the consistent theme of decapitation that appears in various cult-related locations. Most compellingly, the Wastelanders update made a subtle but significant change to the graffiti, altering it from "Sickleman was here" to "Sickleman is here," implying the killer is still active rather than being a historical figure. Furthermore, during the seasonal Mothman Equinox event, observant players have noticed that a sickle appears on the table next to Wise Charles during cult gatherings, an item that is not present at other times. This detail suggests an ongoing connection between the character and the weapon associated with the murders. The Sickleman represents a fascinating evolution in Fallout's narrative design because, as a character in a live service game, his story has been subtly altered and expanded through game updates over time. This transforms players from simple discoverers of static lore into active participants in an ongoing cold case investigation. The community-driven effort to solve his mystery encourages continuous engagement with the game world and creates a sense that the mystery lives and breathes alongside the evolving game environment. This approach,
which is kind of cool. I think that's actually a really good a good way to have a living world slash live service update with the fandom. I think that's neat. Like, legitimately, I think that's really, really neat.
Also reflects the reality of how serial killer investigations work in the real world. They're often collaborative efforts involving multiple investigators over extended periods, with new evidence and theories emerging over time. Lorenzo Cabot. Lorenzo Cabot represents perhaps the most complex.
Okay, really? I don't know if I'll count Lorenzo Cabot as a serial killer, but hey, you do you.
And morally ambiguous figure in the entire Fallout universe, a character who transcends the typical definition of a serial killer to embody genuine Lovecraftian horror. Born in 1835, Lorenzo was a brilliant archaeologist whose life took a catastrophic turn in 1894 when he discovered a lost alien city buried deep in the Arabian desert. There, he unearthed a strange, crown-like artifact that would fundamentally alter not just his life but his very nature. The artifact fused permanently to his skull, granting him incredible and unnatural powers, true immortality, enhanced physical strength, and resilience that borders on the supernatural, and potent telekinetic abilities that allow him to kill with a thought. However, these gifts came with a terrible price. The alien influence gradually warped his mind, making him increasingly paranoid, violent, and utterly sociopathic. Lorenzo, who emerged from the desert, was no longer entirely human, but something far more dangerous. By 1898, recognizing the growing threat his father represented to both his family and society at large, Jack Cabot made the difficult decision to have Lorenzo committed to a specially constructed cell in the basement of Parsons State Insane Asylum. For the next 400 years, Lorenzo remained imprisoned in this cell, effectively serving as both a prisoner and a living battery for his family's continued existence. Jack discovered that his father's unique alien-altered physiology could be exploited to create a remarkable serum from Lorenzo's blood. This serum halted the aging process entirely, allowing Jack, his mother, and his sister to achieve practical immortality. For 4 centuries, the Cabot family used Lorenzo's suffering to fuel their unnaturally long lives, making them parasites who sustained themselves on their patriarch's imprisonment and pain. Players become entangled in the Cabot family's dark affairs when hired by Jack to investigate mysterious activities at the asylum. This leads to a crisis when mercenaries launch a raid attempting to free Lorenzo, forcing players to confront the reality of the family's situation and the nature of their prisoner. The climax of the questline, The Secret of Cabot House, places players directly before Lorenzo's cell and forces them to make one of the most consequential moral decisions in the entire game. Honor Jack's desperate request to kill his father and end the threat forever, or side with Lorenzo and set him free from his centuries of imprisonment. If players choose to kill Lorenzo, they eliminate his threat permanently, but also doom the Cabot family to begin aging and eventually dying naturally.
To be honest, as messed up as this sounds, no one lives forever. Like, legitimately, no one lives forever, nor should anyone live forever.
After centuries of artificial life extension, Jack rewards this choice with 500 caps and Lorenzo's artifact gun, a unique gamma gun that has been modified with the alien crown's telekinetic technology, creating a weapon that literally harnesses otherworldly power. If players choose to free Lorenzo, his first act upon release is exactly what Jack warned it would be. He seeks immediate and brutal vengeance against the family that imprisoned him. Lorenzo travels directly to Cabot House and systematically murders his entire family using his telekinetic powers, crushing them to death or throwing them against walls with the force of his mind. As a reward for this liberation, he provides players with a lifetime supply of his mysterious serum, an exceptionally powerful consumable that grants significant combat bonuses and represents a share in his alien-enhanced physiology.
Yeah, but the problem is, if you let him go, he'll just start killing a bunch of ghouls and a bunch of other people as experiments. I don't see him as a serial killer, more as just a weird monstrous entity.
But Lorenzo's story doesn't end with his family's death. If freed, he can be encountered randomly throughout the Commonwealth in scenarios that confirm Jack's warnings about his sociopathic nature. Players may find him standing over the fresh corpses of innocent ghoul settlers, calmly explaining that he killed them to study their radiation syndrome, which he finds has a striking similarity to my own condition. These encounters serve as chilling reminders that the player has become directly complicit in the murders that follow Lorenzo's release.
There isn't I don't know. I can understand that it could be considered a sociopathic nature, but the reason I say I don't believe it more so because the thing he has on his head makes him more alien than anything. I don't know. That sounds like I'm trying to justify it. Forget for
Random appearances also raise disturbing questions about his ultimate goals. His interest in studying radiation's effects on humans suggests he may be conducting his own experiments, possibly attempting to understand how his alien-altered condition relates to the mutations caused by nuclear radiation. This implies he views post-war humanity not as people deserving protection, but as test subjects for his ongoing research into the nature of his own condition. The moral complexity of the Lorenzo situation extends far beyond a simple choice between good and evil. The Cabot family's actions are deeply immoral. They have essentially enslaved their patriarch and used his suffering to sustain their own lives for centuries. They are parasites in the most literal sense, drawing life from someone else's pain. Siding with Jack means upholding and perpetuating this fundamentally corrupt arrangement. However, Lorenzo represents an even more immediate and undeniable evil. His alien-influenced mind no longer recognizes human life as having inherent value, and his immortal nature means he will continue killing forever unless stopped. The choice forces players to decide between supporting a corrupt but stable situation or unleashing an ancient evil to punish a different, more personal form of evil. The subsequent random encounters serve as stark, bloody reminders that moral choices in the Fallout universe have real consequences that
yes and no. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Fallout 4 has no moral choices. It really doesn't. It tries to play it off as though it does, but they fall into a really boring gray area, which doesn't exist in Fallout. You can at me if you want, but it's true.
that extend far beyond the immediate moment of decision. Every ghoul settlement Lorenzo destroys, every innocent person he kills in his research, represents the price of the player's choice to free him. The game doesn't allow players to make this decision and then forget about it. It forces them to confront the ongoing consequences of their moral choices. Lorenzo Cabot ultimately represents the point where Fallout's serial killer lore transcends human psychology entirely and enters the realm of cosmic horror. His actions aren't driven by trauma, desperation, or even human sadism, but by an alien intelligence that fundamentally doesn't understand or value human life. He embodies the terrifying possibility that some forms of evil are so alien and incomprehensible that they can't be reasoned with, reformed, or contained, only destroyed or unleashed. These 7 figures, the pint-sized slasher, Fenn's Phantom, Nuka Killer, Pickman, Dixie, Sickleman, and Lorenzo Cabot, top USSA, represent the full spectrum of serial killer killer psychology in the Fallout universe. From childhood corruption to alien-influenced cosmic horror, they serve as crucial narrative elements that add layers of intimate, psychological terror to the grand-scale devastation of nuclear apocalypse. The pre-war killers, the Slasher, Phantom, and Nuka Killer, reveal that the rot was always present beneath America's idyllic facade, proving that the darkness wasn't created by the bombs, but simply given new opportunities to flourish. Their stories, discovered like time capsules buried in computer terminals and holotapes, demonstrate that the supposed golden age of pre-war America was already plagued by profound psychological sickness. The post-war killers, Hickman, Dixie, and the Sicklemen, represent how this darkness evolved and adapted to the lawless reality of the wasteland. They're not rebelling against a structured society because no such society exists anymore. Instead, they're natural extensions of a world defined by violence, channeling their compulsions toward raiders, innocent travelers, or mysterious ritual purposes that may connect to larger supernatural forces. Lorenzo Cabot stands alone as a bridge between worlds, his ancient, alien-induced madness, making the brutality of both the old world and the new seem almost mundane by comparison. He represents the ultimate horror, evil so ancient and otherworldly that it transcends human understanding entirely. If you enjoyed this video and want to see every single Fallout DLC explained, click the video on the screen.
Alrighty, guys.
Supernatural forces.
If you like this kind of content, do like, comment, and subscribe. Make sure to check out the original the original creator of this video, Ghoul Explains. Make sure to check out Ghoul Explains. I'll leave a link in the content. I'll leave a link in the description with the video, so you can check them out. If you guys want to help me out, I have a donathon going on. Well, dono link going on. I could really use as much help as I can get. Only do so if you want to help me. If not, that's completely fine. I understand. Anyway, love you guys. I'll see you all later. Bye.